Most MSPs I speak to say, look, if you can get me in front of a prospect, I will close the sale 7 or 8 times out of 10. That's what we've just delivered here. We've just delivered you a meeting with a prospect.
Paul Green's
MSP Marketing
Podcast.
I know we're a few weeks into 2023 now, but we have been going back through the basics as part of a couple of series. And in this first part of the show, we are doing the ultimate MSP marketing strategy. It's the final part this week. So 2 weeks ago, we talked about the first part, which was the first of the 3-step strategy I recommend. That is to build multiple audiences. And then last week, we talked about building a relationship with those audiences. Please go back and review those 2 episodes if you haven't watched them yet, because the third part this week is about commercializing those relationships. So if you have followed my advice from last week, you've built some people to listen to you, and you've built a light relationship with them through great content marketing. The final step then is commercializing it. You see, doing all this marketing, we don't just do it for fun, we do it because it grows our business. Because all of us have things that we want, a lifestyle we want to lead, things we want to do with our time. We need a certain amount of income to do that. And we also just want to succeed. We want more resources, more techs. We all just want more from our businesses. So that means our marketing has got to deliver. This final stage is all about taking all of the work that you've done in the first 2 stages and turning it into money. You see, people only buy when they are ready to buy. This is a core marketing problem that you have to understand, or you'll never get any traction with it. People only buy when they are ready to buy. And the job that you've got is to be there in front of them at exactly that moment. Now, that's one of the reasons why we build these audiences and why we build the relationship with them, because we want people to remember you at that point they're ready to buy. The reality is most people don't, because they just, well, put it like this, people don't remember. There's too much information. There's too much in our brains. There's too much noise. We just don't remember things. We can bookmark stuff. We can keep printed stuff. We can have a little mental note or write it down. But, you know, if someone sees your stuff today but isn't ready to buy for 6 months, the chances of them remembering you are really quite low. So what we can do instead is we can stack the odds in our favor. And this is done through making phone calls to prospects. Now, I'm not suggesting that we do cold calls. I know we've had guests on this show talking about cold calls, and personally, I'm not a big fan of cold calling. Some of my guests have recommended it. That's fine. I think if you choose to go down that route, that's your choice. Me, I prefer slightly warm calls. So for example, if you were to phone, no, not you, I'm going to tell you who's going to do this in a second, but if someone was to phone up your LinkedIn connections, or to phone up the people who are in your email database, or to phone up the people you send out a printed newsletter to, that would be a very smart thing to do. The question is, who's going to phone them? What are they going to say, and how are they going to sell the business? Well, here's the secret. With this phone call, we're not looking to do any selling. No selling at all. And that's kind of cool, because that means we can hire someone to do this who A, can't sell, B, hasn't been trained to sell, doesn't know how to sell, C, doesn't really know about technology, and D, doesn't know anything about your business. You can teach them a little bit about technology and a little bit about business just through a few conversations, but we don't want a hardcore salesperson. What we want is a relationship builder who is good at spotting timed opportunities. Now, the best kind of person for this, I believe, is a back-to-work mom. So for your phone person, you shake the network of the important female in your life, or if you are an important female, you shake your own network. These back-to-work mums do tend to know other back-to-work mums. You shake that network through Facebook or just through personal connections. Somewhere out there is a back-to-work mum. So she had a pretty good career before she had some kids. Now those kids have gone to school. Maybe her confidence isn't quite as high as it was. Maybe she doesn't want to return to her previous job because it's not flexible enough or it's not fun anymore. There are lots of different reasons why. But what you're offering her is the chance to work 2 to 3 days a week, 2 to 3 hours a day, doing work that matters. She can come into the office to do it if she wants to hang out with other adults. Sometimes that's a primary driver. Or she can work from home and she can work flexible hours around the kids being at school. Little Johnny's got a cold tomorrow, doesn't go to school, it's no problem. You just take the day off. Can you see how that kind of flexible job, that flexible arrangement is very, very desirable for some people? So you potentially can get a back-to-work mum who's got an enormous skill set, but you can pay them a lot less than you would pay them if you hired them for the skill set that they used to have in their old job. What you want from them primarily is their ability to communicate well on the phone. Essentially, you want someone who loves being on the phone, and their idea of fun is just picking up the phone, dialing numbers, and chatting to people about their favorite subject, which is, of course, themselves and their business. This is the perfect gig for some back-to-work mum. And that's what they're doing. They're literally phoning your audiences, and they're asking open questions. They're asking about people's businesses. How's it going right now? You could take the seasonality. So, for example, at this time of year, you might say, hey, I know it was a few weeks ago. Did you have a good Christmas? Have you got really good plans for this year? I mean, there's a line. You can't go too quickly into, tell me about your plans for the business. That the people kind of have a guard up until you started to build a little bit of a relationship. But essentially, you get them talking about their business. And then at some point, your phone mom may ask them this question. Hey, do you guys have an IT support company right now? I don't advise you say technology company, by the way. So we talk about being technology partners, but to ordinary people out there, we're still IT support companies. Obviously, they don't know what an MSP is, but it's still IT support in their head. If you say to them, do you have a technology company? That's actually a slightly confusing question for them today. It might not be in the years ahead. So your back-to-work mum might say, hey, do you guys have an IT support company you work with? And let's say they say yes. And your back-to-work mum would then ask them this qualifying question, and this is a cracker. On a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 is appalling and 10 is world class, how would you rank your current IT support company? Now, if they give an answer of 10, 9, or 8, they're happy. In fact, that's the answer you would want your clients to give out in response to that question. So your back-to-work mum can, end the conversation, thank them very much, and give them a call in a year's time, see if anything has changed. But there's not an opportunity there. So if they answer 7, 6, or 5, there's an opportunity coming up. And in fact, if it's more down at the 5 level, that's a low score. If it's 4 or below, then there's an immediate opportunity, because essentially that's a level of dissatisfaction that's so low it needs to be jumped on. So if they answer 7 or below, your back-to-work mum can say something like, oh, that's a really low score. I mean, normally when I ask people that question, the score is much higher. Can you tell me why you've given them that lower score? This is the perfect follow-up question. Can you tell me why you've given them that lower score? And then the person that they're speaking to, your back-to-work mum is speaking to, this prospect will then, if all is well, they will tell you something that their current MSP is doing wrong. Now, what's really important is that your phone mum writes this down and passes this information to you, because you can use that. Let's say, for example, they say, oh, they're just so slow. Like we call them and they never call us back. And it's just getting hold of them to tell them about problems takes ages. If you knew that in a sales meeting 4 or 5 weeks later, if you knew that was their primary problem with their incumbent, wouldn't you, without actually saying, hey, I know your problem is this, wouldn't you use that in some way? So for example, you would say, oh, by the way, we guarantee what we do. Our guarantee, in fact, these are our SLAs. I don't like SLAs, but SLAs have a value when your incumbent that you're up against has no ability to meet SLAs. Does that make sense? So the phone mum asks them what they're unhappy about with their incumbent, and then she moves for a close. Now remember, she can't sell technology, she can't quote it, you can't close someone on the phone anyway. What she does is she says, look, is your contract up at any point in the next 12 months, or when's your contract up? Let's say it's 3-4 months away. She says, look, I think it would be worth you having just a 15-minute conversation with you. He's our technology strategist and the owner of the business, and he can just, advise you, just ask you a few questions and advise you on some technology stuff that I can't, because I'm not a technology person. And then she can use the either or close. The either or is this, where she can say, so look, Dave's available either on Monday afternoon or Wednesday morning, just for a 15-minute video call. Which will be better for you, Monday afternoon or Wednesday morning? That's the either or. So phone mom books you a 15-minute video call with you. Now, you may only get, she could spend the weeks and weeks phoning people, and she might only get one of these a week. But wouldn't you just be delighted to have that video meeting, right? That's probably more than that might be more than you're doing right now. Even just one meeting a week. And we're talking here about qualified prospects. They're qualified because we know they've got an IT support company. We know that they're unhappy with them. You may even have asked, or she may have asked on your behalf, how many staff they've got or how many computers. This is a really good prospect. And you know it will go well, or it has gone well, if the 15-minute meeting actually lasts 30 to 45 minutes. That's when you know things are very much going your way. And this is hallelujah moment, it really is. Because your job on that video call is to book yourself a proper sales meeting with them. Most MSPs I speak to say, look, if you can get me in front of a prospect, I will close the sale 7 or 8 times out of 10. Most MSPs say that. That's great. That's what we've just delivered here. We've just delivered you a meeting with a prospect. And that is pretty much it. Now, there are other things that you can do, which we will cover off in future episodes of the podcast. In fact, we've talked about them in the past. Go and look up things like impact boxes and good sales proposals. But I think for now, we'll stop there because you now have the 3 steps of the ultimate MSP marketing strategy. Oh, and by the way, if you have any questions on this at all, you can just drop me an email. It's the real me at the other end, and I will reply to you. I reply to every single comment I get about this show. Just email me. hello@paulgreensmspmarketing.com.
Paul Green's
MSP Marketing
Podcast.